Alright guys, so about 6 to 8 months ago I bought this wonderful, elegant, well-balanced piece of machinery, and since then I've really hated it. That's right, I really hated this thing. In any case, I changed the alternator out when I very first got it because I knew it needed an alternator when I got it. Problem is, the plug itself that plugs into the alternator was bad. I knew this and went on ahead and crammed it in there anyways, hoping that it would work. Well, now I'm 3 batteries later and fully understanding that no, I should have changed the plug out itself. But I didn't, but we're going to now. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and go through all the steps to replace the alternator, simply because you're going to have to get to that plug that's in the alternator. Now, in order to do this, it's right under that front tire, and I'll show you in just a second. You want to jack this thing up as high as you possibly can. Already take precautions, set the parker brake, vehicles in park. You're going to have to pull the front axle out as well. It's no fun. Yeah, it's no fun. This is the sort of job whenever you call a shop, they say, yeah, we'll charge you more than what the vehicle is worth to do it, because they themselves don't want to do it. I got quoted, I believe the cheapest with me bringing the alternator, was $694. And I called around, mainly because I didn't want to do it myself. Yeah, so let's get this thing all the way up in the air, and then we'll take a look at where the alternator is, how you get it out, how to do the plug, and all of these other things. But first, let's go ahead and jack this up. We're going to do a time lapse. So the video is already done. I forgot the most important part of this. Disconnect your battery before you do this. You do not want to get electrocuted down there. Disconnect your battery. Now let's start the video. Alright, so you can see a lot of this stuff has to come out. Caliper, rotor, most of your front suspension. My creeper creeps away apparently, because your alternator is actually right there. That's right, that is where they put your alternator. Now, let me gather up my creeper. We'll go under and take a look. Alright, so you really want a lift for this. You really do. Because that is where you're going. I'm not sure if you can see the wiring right there. That's what I need to replace, but this is not, I repeat, this is not an easy task. Oh, as I'm getting stuck. It's not easy at all to get in there. The front axle has to come out. All of this steering and suspension components has to come out. It's more fun than you've ever wanted to have on one of these. But let's go ahead and join in the journey and getting this done. I'm not going to do it all today. It's actually starting to thunder. Not sure if you can hear that. So we're not going to do it all today. But definitely going to get in there and get this thing out of there. We'll pick it up tomorrow. All right, so now that we're here, and we're going to get back there. Take we're going to take all this apart. We're going to start out with the brakes, the caliper, the radiator, the whatever these things are called. 17mm bolts here. We're going to remove the pads and the caliper here. I've already loosened these up because Don't kid yourself, these things are in there pretty good. So they look 17 millimeter, by the way. There's one on top, there's one on the bottom. Maybe, just maybe, I can look out and do all of this one-handed, but I kind of doubt it. But, you know, probably should have, you know, cut through this. All right, there's that, there's that. Can I do it one-handed? Yes, I can somehow. Remove this. Now don't let it hang, because it's really just hanging by that line there. I'm gonna go get a zip tie. We're gonna zip tie this up. All right, so we can get this to hang up, we're gonna take this clip out here. Just remove it. It's actually a lot harder than that. And this is gonna release that. Oh, as I bang stuff around. Release that line there so that we can hang this caliper up here on that spring with a zip tie. As you can see, the line's not pinched, it's not crimped. It's fairly out of the way. We're gonna have to just put it up there. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna go ahead and get this bracket off. I still got my pads in there. I just left them there. There's 2 bolts, this one and this one. They're both 19 millimeter. Let me get it out and I'll show you. This one I was able to get a socket on, but that top one, I had to do a wrench. You're going to be using a bunch of different tools for this job. There we go, that second one's out. I'm going ahead and take this bracket off. The pads are going to come with it. There's that. There's the pads and the bracket. And then the rotor comes off. Whew. Oh wait, we're not done yet. This fan. So before you forget and you tear it off of here, there's an ABS sensor right there. It's a 12 millimeter. And just unbolt it here. And then I'm just gonna let it hang. I'm not really gonna do anything with it after that. At this point in time, I'm not gonna like remove anything. I'm just gonna sort of loosen everything. I'm gonna start with this axle nut. I'm gonna loosen this. There's 2 bolts right here. I'm gonna loosen these. I'm also gonna remove this here. As much as you want to, don't hit anything with a hammer. This is just a cotter pin here. We're gonna remove the cotter pin and undo or loosen everything really. I'm not undoing anything at this moment in time. It's all coming out, but right now I'm just gonna go ahead and loosen everything. Starting with this, it's a 32 millimeter. She big. Stick it right there. Now, if this is your first time doing this, this is gonna be indented. As you can see, mine is not, because this is not the first time this has happened to this van. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. Your best friend right now, it's gonna be an impact. All right, now, as bad as you want to come in here and bust everything up with a hammer, don't you do it. I'm talking to myself on this one. You bust this right here with a hammer, and you're liable to not get your bolt back on there. So we're not going to bust everything with a hammer. I have a pickle fork. If a pickle fork don't work, I do have a puller designed just for these. I may start out with that. I'm not exactly sure. These are still here. The nuts are off of them, but the bolts are, you can see, still in there. Sort of hanging out sort of loosely. Here's my ABS sensor. Like I said, I'm just gonna let it flop to the side. My axle nut is still on here, just in case. I really don't think it's going anywhere, because we're gonna have to have a puller to get that off also. But excuse me, I got the hiccups. I'm gonna go ahead and start addressing this. I'll probably start out with the pickle fork right here on this tie rod, on this end link here, but You know, we'll see. We'll see what we get out of here.
Here's our tool we're going to use. I call it a tie rod end link. It's not a tie rod end link, it's a steering rack. Somebody's going to call me out on it anyways. You're going to be like, oh, somebody, that's not a tie rod end link, it's a steering end link. Anyways, very easy device to use. Slide it on, and then you just bolt this until you pop it out. This is going to move forward. We're just going to bolt it right here on the end of this knuckle to the steering rack. There we go. That is the steering rack. I know somebody's going to call me out on it. Somebody's probably still going to call me out on it. That's not even what it is. You just got the wrong thing again. Oh, wow. That actually was concerningly easy. I was able to do that with my hands. I didn't even loosen that. So that is out of there. Flat out. Now we're ready for this. That's going to require two hands because this is going to just simply fall out on me. And I don't want that to happen to me one-handed. So let's do that two-handed. So these two bolts out. There's that. Now we're separate. So as you can see, we've separated. Now we're ready to take this off, and then we're going to push the axle through this way with another puller that's going to sit on here and sort of push this in there. There is, get on up in here, was it 3 or 4 bolts right there. I'm not exactly sure if you can see it. Right where the axle's broken. You see where the axle's broken right there's 3 or 4 bolts right behind it. The top one you can see very well. But we're going to go ahead and get all those bolts out first and then push this thing in there and then yank this axle out. And then you want to hear some more good news? I'm not replacing that axle. That's not getting replaced. It's staying broken. I don't even care. So let's go ahead and do that now. So from here we're going to get the axle out of the hub. And in order to get these two removed, like I said, we're not whopping anything with a big whammer. We're going to go ahead and use this guy here, this front wheel drive hub puller. Yeah, I hope I got that right. Anyways, there's not much to this thing. I rented this from AutoZone, and that's really sort of all it is. If I can get it out. That's really it. It mounts up to the studs. You tighten it down with this until that pretty much punches it through. And the way it's tapered, it keeps it from sort of mushrooming out, and keeps your axle from tearing stuff up. So, you know, we're gonna go ahead and knock this out. All right, so on this particular application, this Mazda van here, you put it on 3 of your studs. So it'll look like that. I really don't know why I'm tightening this down yet because I don't need to. Go ahead and put 3 lug nuts on. Fortunately for me, the lug nuts and this plunger here are all 19 millimeter. Let's go ahead and get these on here. Alright, so I was wrong. Those were 21s, not 19s. Let's go ahead and put this on here. And like I said, I'm on the slowest setting on my impact. Here, let me show you. Pushed it all the way through. Now we can take this loose. Well, I thought we could. Maybe I need to go a little bit more. There it goes.
This is a two-handed activity.
Okay, so way back in here, there are 2 bolts. Oh, let me see. I missed it. There is one. And then there's another one. Nope, 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 nope. It's right there. Those 2 bolts hold the bracket that is still holding the axle. There you go, you can see both of them. That square one right there, we're not so worried about. It's those 2, let me take a still of it, right there. Those 2 right there, we're gonna go ahead and take those out. That's a two-handed job, so I'm not gonna be able to show you that. All right, so if you can see, one bolt is out, one is not. This bracket right here is in the way. There's 2 bolts. There's one, and there's one right there. Those are connected to the alternator. So we're gonna have to go ahead and undo this bracket, which is hooked to the lower part of the alternator. So we're gonna go ahead, before we do any of that, we're gonna go ahead and loosen the belt. Let me show you where the pulley is. All right, so let me go ahead and show you where the pulley is on this thing. So we're at the passenger side front end looking at it. Right under these belts here, we're gonna go down. Right there, that multicolored guy there, he's not really multicolored, he's sort of just a different color. What you do is, you take you a socket. There's not a socket, but a ratchet. And there's a square right there. And you put the ratchet in that square, and you twist, and you pry the belt loose. We're gonna go ahead and do that. That's a two-handed job. I'm not gonna be able to show you that, but go ahead and find your square. It's right there. Let me see if I can get the camera down there, so you can actually see it. Ooh, it's so tight, I can't even do that. But it's right there. You can sort of see the square. You put the ratchet in the pulley, so it actually fits inside the pulley, like my finger's in it right now. And then you pry it loose, and then you go from there. So let me get the belt loose, and then I'll show you taking the bolts out. We got our 2 bolts out. Right there. Now you gotta loosen this bracket up. I'm gonna show you how to do that here in a second. As you can see, this belt is now off. There was also an inner fender that was held on by various bolts, screws, and nuts. Yes, all the above. There it is right now. And all the bolts, screws, and nuts are in various places. I don't know why they did bolt, screws, and nuts. Anyways, this comes out. It was right here. It just makes things a lot easier. Pull it out. Sorry I didn't show that. You know, just struggling with this thing. All right. So, anyways, these are out. Now let's see if we can go ahead and just, don't tug and smash our hands, because that joker hurt right there. Like, that didn't feel good. Now I'm getting stuck. Let me do both hands, and then I'll pick it back up. As you can see, this is our axle. Now, the 2 bolts we got out were actually, one's right there, and the other one's right there. See if I can get that to pick up. So those are our 2 bolts that we had to take out that were mounted to the van. Axle, I got it propped up a little bit. I don't want anything, you know, under it. That's going back in transmission. I am going to take a little bit of precautions here. In any case, let me show you how you get alternator loose. It's a two-handed job. You're not going to be able to do it one-handed. I'll show you how to do it, and then I'm going to continue to do it off camera with both. So we're back under the van. As you can see, things look a lot different with that axle out of the way. It's going to help out tremendously. All right, so our 2 bolts for the alternator. One's right there, and one is right behind it. So what you need to do, let me see if I can even get my camera in here, because you're going to be sort of Cirque du Soleil. I can't even get the camera back there. Let me change cameras. All right, so change cameras out. This is a lot smaller, but more terrible quality. You can see, hopefully that's picking up. We're under the alternator right here. Okay, so what you're gonna need is go ahead and get your socket and a small extension together, and then contort yourself in a manner that will get you into the circus. Stick it right there, and once you have one hand holding this on the bolt, And if you can see, there's a tiniest little bit of room. You're going to go ahead and hook up the ratchet to it. So let me show you how that looks, and then I'm going to turn it off because I need both hands for that. Okay, so you're going to look something like this coming out. You're not going to have very much room. It's maybe 2 or 3 inches of travel. That's not very much. So you're going to need a quality ratchet for that. The one closer, you have even less room. It's really tight in there. I'm gonna go ahead and get these 2 bolts out, and then we'll pick it right back up, okay? All
right, so here's the 2 bottom bolts to the alternator. Holding on that bracket there.
We got them out. It takes a while. It's not easy. It's no fun. The third one is up there. Now, you're not going to be able to see it. Like, even with this camera, I'm just not going to be able to get it up there. Maybe you can see it right there. In any case, you're going to have to feel around for that. And then you're going to have to put your socket on it. And then you're going to have to undo it by feel. And that's going to be fun. It is no fun. So let me feel around, because you can't see that under the van. And this is so much easier with a lift. Unfortunately, I don't have one. So let me feel around. Let me get that 3rd bolt out of there, and then I'm hopefully going to let it rest. You know, not pulling tight on the wires, but just sort of let it rest from there. So, all right. So as you can see, the alternator's all the way disconnected. It's away from the block. We're going to go ahead and disconnect our wires. I'm trying to figure out how to show you the wires. Right here, this guy right here, my finger's on, there's a bolt right there. That's a 10 millimeter. It's actually kind of tight right now, so you want to go ahead and get that one off. Now my other set of wire, my plug that's broken, which I should have fixed it beforehand, that way I could get away with this, is right here. Some people go ahead and take this bracket out right here. There's 3 bolts. There's one there, there's one right there, you can't see it, and there's another one right there. This right there. Some people take this bracket out, and you may have to. Some people don't. I'm gonna try to leave it in, but I may have to take this bracket out here. But first I'm gonna go ahead and take that 10 millimeter out so that I can sort of fandangle the alternator a little bit, because you got to get it out of this hole right here. Like it maybe looks big on camera. It's really not big, and someone has whopped mine with a hammer. Like, whoever did this job before me definitely got in here, got angry, and beat this thing with a hammer. So let me get this 10 millimeter out. We'll pick it back up here in just a second.
Van. And that jacker's still not out.
Alright guys, if you can tell, alternator's in there, new pigtail is on there. The whole thing I needed to do, I haven't wired it up yet, but I did want to make sure it fit. It fits, it's in there as need be. Something I like to do, something that you don't have to do, but something I like to do is all my parts and pieces I keep together. So everything right here goes to the alternator. Everything right there goes to the suspension, not the brakes, but the suspension. And then here's the inner fender. And then so the nuts and bolts are right there. The axle, I did put a bag on it just because I was worried about things getting in there. That goes in the transmission. You don't really want dirt or anything on that. The 2 nuts there, all of my brake hardware, and everything goes with the brakes there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bolt this back together pretty much the same way I unbolted everything, except I'm going to time lapse it so you can see it, but it's going to be, you know, much faster. And as you can see, that right there is transmission fluid. It's leaked a little bit. Another reason why you sort of want to lift is so you're not in all that transmission fluid, which is, you know, it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna smell good tonight, you know, smell like pink fluid. Good times. Let's get this back together. Taking a time out just to show you something. So your axle's back there, right? It's going to go right there in the transmission. So the alternator is in, but sort of loosely, as you can tell. That's because it's so much easier to go ahead and get the axle in with the alternator sort of loosely in. Those two bolts that go on that dust shield are so much easier to get in when the alternator's loose. I'm going to go ahead and install the axle, then finish up on the alternator. This is so much fun. All right, let's get back to the not the live stream, time lapse. Alright guys, so now we've got transmission fluid everywhere. The belt's back on. Whew! The axle's in, alternator's tight, belt's on. Now, while we're at this stage, I'm going to go ahead and check this thing. And I'm not going to lie to you people, because you're too good to me. If this thing fires up, voltmeter checks out, I'm liable to go off the chain, throw something in a celebratory manner. So, first things first, let's crank this old girl up. Shoot, I might even put it on the chip, I don't know. Even while it is on jack stands. Turn the AC off. Oh, got a bunch of lights coming on. It seems to be running. The battery light is not on, the all-important battery light. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. It's a huge deal. Oh, this went down. I had an F-150 lock me out one time doing this. So I always roll the window down. All right, let's see if I can get the camera on the voltmeter here. All right, so that's not going to work. I only got one hand, yeah, because of camera. But I'm not sure if that picks up. It says 14.14, 14.15. I just saw a dip down in the 13s real quick. Oh, I think that's more my... That's what's up. That is what's up. That, yes! Chicken stuff. That's what's up. Freaking did it. That's what's up. Mazda, you thought you got me back when I was like 20 when you built this joker? No, sir. No, sir. Let's put it on the chip. Yes, sir. We did it. Yes, sir. Do it again. Bam, 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 bam. That's what's up. That's what's up. Yes, sir. All right. Excuse my celebratory manner. Still got to put the front of this thing back together. Whew. Just excited, man. Just excited about that, dude. Just, you know, just... That's not easy. Just excited. That old girl is ready to run now. I had to put it on the chip. Had to put it on the chip. I was like 7,200 RPMs out of a van. Had to put it on the chip, man. Let's put this back together. man, it's kind of sad to say, but this job is almost over. No, it's not hard to say at all. Anyways, I did not show taking the inner fender off. This guy here. So let's show putting the inner fender back on. There's really not much to this guy, and it just sort of goes like that. This one has writing right here, which goes on the inside of the van. This is the outside here. Not much to it. You just sort of put it there. Let me do my very best to keep it in shot when we put this up. Mine has 2 bolts, 1 screw, and 1 nut. Yes, that's what holds this on for me. All right, so let me get it up in here. Boom. So there's a clip right there, and that is where my screw goes. I know you're not seeing that right now, but you're like, Chris, what are you showing me? Okay. This is my screw here. So my screw goes right there. It's one of those like plastic clip deals that's aggravating to work with. If you've never worked with one and you're about to do this job, you're about to work with them. They're very aggravating. Do that with 2 hands. Here's my nut. Get straight across. Put my nut on here. Nothing to it. Now mine probably would have had something else in this general area, but this looks like somebody took a torch and beat it when they did the alternator, because it's incredibly hard to do on this jacker. So I'm going to tighten that nut down here in a second, sort of off camera. Get back up under here in transmission fluid, because I don't have enough of it on me already. Go ahead and hang this up. Now, on that very far side right there, I hope it's still daylight enough to be picking up. Right there, this is where one of these bolts go. Oh, I forgot I put this thing on the chip. That is hot. I just burnt myself. That was less than ideal. I need to watch my face. Also, if you do this job and you do decide to put it on the chip, transmission fluid is flammable. Also, I'm on jack stands, so you know it's not ideal. I'm gonna tighten that down here in a second. I'm a little bit worried I'm gonna burn myself actually. Second bolt goes right here. Put it right there. And this is up for me. There's a 3rd bolt hole right here that I was already missing, so I'm not worried about that. So let me go ahead and get that on there, get these tightened up, and then get the wheel back on there, and then we'll pick it up from there. All right, let's go over all the tools that we used on this. One is missing, and that is that front end hub puller. I rented that from AutoZone actually. I returned it soon after using it, because you don't need it to put everything back on. But let's start out with the jack and jack stands. You're going to want good jack stands. You're going to want the whole side of the van to be up when you do this. So a good jack and 2 good jack stands, because you want it higher than what I had it, to be honest with you. I didn't have it very high. You're going to want an impact. You're going to want an impact, especially when you get to the axle nut, which is a 32 millimeter. I also used it for the tires, 21 millimeter lug nuts. I also used it 17 millimeter. I believe that was the strut tower, or the strut to get that out, and a 19 millimeter, or maybe that was. I used all 4 of those sizes with the impact. You also are going to want a pitman arm puller, is the name of this. Every extension you've got. This is all sizes. You're going to use all of them. There's another one. You're going to want ratchets. I have 2 ratchets that I used. I got a big one and I've got a little one. You're going to want ratchets. I've also got, this is a 17 millimeter. That's a 15 millimeter. That's a 12 millimeter. That's a 14 millimeter, a 14 millimeter, a smaller 14 millimeter. You're actually going to need both of these. You're going to need both tall and short 14 millimeters. That's a 10 millimeter. That is a 14 millimeter. That's also, if you look, 3 different sizes. I used all 3 of them. Those were on the alternator. The 14s are on the alternator. The 12s are on the axle. This is a 19 millimeter. I also have ratcheting wrenches. Not sure if that's picking up or not. I got a 12 millimeter, a 17 millimeter, a 14 millimeter, a 15 millimeter. And that, you're also going to want to get a good set of universals. You're going to want a clamp. You're going to use this to get the brakes off or hold things when you're under there. Also have a 19 millimeter ratchet and wrench, voltmeter when you get the alternator on there to test it, and I believe a screwdriver. I forgot about the screwdriver. I believe that's it. Oh, a pair of pliers, actually, a pair of pliers right there. Forgot I used the pliers. I did actually use the pliers to get the cotter pin out. So these are the tools that I use. And I'm actually probably forgetting some. So if you don't have these and you don't have a quality set of these, this may not be the job for you. So when you Google this job, Google tells you $195 in labor and then about $200 for the alternator. I can go ahead and tell you, at least locally, that is completely false. The shops are going to give you a very high number. The cheapest shop that I saw, the cheapest shop that I physically talked to was $694. The shops are going to give you an answer that they don't want you to hear so that you don't bring your car there. Trust me, shops do this. You know, they're going to add on to the cost because they don't want to do this. This job only pays, you know, maybe 2 hours. This might be an 8-hour job for some shops, especially if they don't have a good lift. If you want to tackle this yourself, you can. It can be done in your driveway. I just did it in my driveway. It is not easy. This is not an easy job. This is not one that I really want to do again. It's the second time doing it, actually. I don't ever want to do it again on this van. If it quits charging again, I think I'm just going to sell it. The good news is the newest of these vans is probably running up on 20 years old now. I think they quit making them in like 07. So they're running up on 20 years old. So I don't think many of them are going to be left. Incredibly hard to do this in the driveway without a lift. Get a lift and it's a lot easier. If your wife says, hey, I found a really good deal on a Mazda MPV van, you say, no, nope, I don't want it, leave it, no, get me something else. Not worth it in my opinion. Hope it helps. Thank you much.